Joining us to discuss that new report and what it means for the future is former state representative and Speaker of the House, Chris Steele, who is now chairman of Oklahomans for Criminal Justice Reform. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, I want to get your reaction to the news, the report showing over $100 million in possible savings because of 780.
Well, it's very encouraging. It's very exciting. However, I think it's important to note that even with the reforms contained in State Question 780, Oklahoma still has the highest incarceration rates in the country. So while the report is promising and while we believe that these reforms are a good first step, the reality is we have a lot of work yet to do.
What does that work look like as you look down the road?
Well, I think it looks like several things. First of all, I would say it's important to note that the voters really deserve the credit here because they have embraced a smarter approach to criminal justice issues in Oklahoma, particularly as it applies to nonviolent offenses, to issues of addiction and mental illness. The people of Oklahoma have clearly said these issues are better addressed through treatment rather than punishment. And so while these reforms are important, they only apply to people who may be dealing with addiction or mental illness after the reforms went into effect. And so there are thousands and thousands of people who are still in prison today for these very same crimes. And I think a good place to start as far as next steps would be to seek to make these reforms retroactive and save the people of Oklahoma even more money and help even more families become whole.
Are people still being arrested and sent to jail for simple possession charges?
No, so it's an interesting dynamic. When we look at our data, there's no doubt that felony filings for simple possession have decreased, significantly decreased in the past year, and yet prison admissions for simple possession sort of have remained the same. And the reason for that is because there are a lot of people who were on some sort of probation or some sort of supervision for these crimes prior to the passage of these reforms. And if they violate the terms of their probation, they're treated as they were under the former law, and they're still going to prison on revocation and violations, which is something that needs to be addressed.
I was going to say, are you guys going to address that? Because that triggers a whole other kettle of worms there.
It does, and we absolutely intend to address that.
And quickly, what were some of the biggest obstacles you faced to get step one completed?
Well, so the reality is there are still people who oppose corrections reform in Oklahoma. There are still people who believe that what we're doing right now is in our state's best interest, and there are individuals who think that incarceration is the solution to everyone who stumbles and breaks the law. So that is the opposition that we face.